Hello, everybody. In this video, I'm going to be talking about three ideas. Two of them I got from some books I've been reading, and one of them is just kind of an idea that I thought about, but that I also saw something related to it. And the video is called God is Expensive because I'm reading Yuval Harari's book, a great book. It's called From Animals to Gods or something like that, and it talks about like just basically all of the human experience, human society. And I'm at the part where he's talking about capitalism, and he mentions that capitalism in some way nowadays is like a kind of god. And if we really look into it, capitalism has its benefits, right? Big benefits, like if we look at it in a deep way, right? Like George Will was saying, that it makes people be nice, it makes people cooperate. And there are, of course, many other benefits, like just the mere fact that you don't have to change chickens for cows, right? Like there's a lot of benefits. This idea of from Freakonomics, no, I forget where the idea is from, but it's not my idea, which basically talks about how you can make a lot of money from nothing, right? I think it's actually from Yuval's book, um, with credit, right? Like credit cards and the idea of credit, like having someone, I think it is from Freakonomics, this idea where like, you know, no, I forget where it's from, but the idea that you basically get credit from somewhere, and then that credit, you use it to pay somebody else, and that person puts their money in the bank, and then the bank loans the other person more money with credit, and you can do that, I think, like 10 different times, when you in reality only have like the first amount of real money, physical money, right? And this is all like embedded in the future. There are, of course, disadvantages on how it makes us like more materialistic. It basically takes away our humanity and a lot of deeper issues. Like, for example, this one, where I think it's not very clear if it's a critique, but I would imagine it is. Like this idea of like money is the new god, and how, well, in my case, I would say the rich have the upper hand here. The rich are the ones that are going to basically use money to get to buy happiness, freedom, justice. And my idea is kind of like a wacky idea, but I was like, even the entrance to heaven, right? What if God is expensive, and the poor can't access God because they don't have the money to pay for God, right? And also this idea of how the economy and the growing economy is constantly growing, right? It's an eternal process with never an end goal in mind. There's never an objective that we get to. If you notice your life, there's no objective you get to, right? It's a constant process, right? Now, is this good? Is this bad? What do I think of this? I already spoke on my idea of the objective of humankind. It's not love. It's not finding the truth. It's not becoming one with the all. It's actually the process, right? And so I gotta dig into the idea of the process, right? Because, for example, the economic process is a never-ending cycle, and just the idea of human economy, the human economy, is always on standby, right? There's perpetual growth. It's just there's never anything, like, if you think about economy, it's far from being defined or clear, or from being able to categorize it, or yeah, basically like define it. It's constantly developing. It's weird. It has weird words, weird concepts, weird processes, right? Now there's this other idea that I was thinking on, related to people, and how there are some people that basically, the idea here is your ego. People will say you have a big ego, or you have a little ego. You have a big, larger than life attitude, big self-esteem, or you have a low self-esteem, right? You think very low of yourself. But I want to use the word, I don't know if it's the right word, preliminary, indignation. I want to use indignation. The higher indignation you feel, right? Like, let's say people, like there's this idea of like a person that is very sensitive, sensible, and maybe they're in very marginalized areas of society, and you do like a good thing for them, like let's say you give them money, like, oh, here, if you ever need any help. Like, I was watching in this movie, I think it's called The Mist. It's a Stephen King story, but the movie is also called The Mist. And there's this girl who, she kind of feels bad, she's religious. And another woman says, well, hey, if you ever need any help, I'm here for you. And it's like, don't say that, because that person's going to take it badly, right? So it's like, if someone's poor and you're like, oh, hey, here, have some money, that you're being condescending, right? You're like, I'm better than you and I know you're doing bad, so here's some help, here's some aid. And those people will take offense, they'll get offended for those type of things, right? So the higher indignation, the less tolerance there is. You can call that ego, right? When your ego's so big that anything from anywhere is going to be taken as bad, right? Like, I think it's funny to do this exercise where just take anything anybody says and twist it negatively, right? Like, if someone's telling, like, if someone says, have a good day, and you're like, kind of like a drunk man, like at a party, who's being like annoying, and they say, have a good day. What do you mean, have a good day? Like, do you think I'm having a bad day, right? Like, it's a fun exercise, it's a funny exercise to do. But I think the higher indignation you feel, the bigger ego you have, you can say, the less tolerance you have, and the poorer in spirit you are, right? Now, counter to that would be the less indignation you feel, the more tolerant you are, the richer you are in spirit, right? So you can think about people that, I don't know, maybe you make a mistake with someone, and the person's like, oh, yeah, yeah, like, don't worry about it, like, I totally understand that, or I totally understand you, like, don't even worry about it. They have high tolerance. They don't feel indignation, right? And indignation can be defined as that idea of like injustice towards your person, like someone's doing me wrong, right? You feel like you're being treated unfairly, right? Which at times you are, and you could be, and you need to respond to that. But again, you don't always need to be responding to that, or most of the time. So that's where I feel people that feel that indignation a lot of times are just irrational and aren't really looking at things the way they are. So there's this other idea by Andrew Bustamante, which was like, I found it to be very interesting, which he says, when people are conversating or you're interacting with someone, people can either be reacting to the interaction or observing the interaction. Now, he says people that observe the interaction have the upper hand. When you stop reacting, when you stop flowing with the conversation with the other person, and you start observing it, like from he calls it uh, not perception but perspective, like analyzing all the other data around, not just your perception but the perspective of it. I think that's right. I may get those two confused. He basically says that you have the upper hand over the person, but that also makes you, if you don't know how to observe without appearing like you're observing, that's also going to break the interaction for the other person. You have to be able to manage both things. You have to be able to observe, yes, but also continue to appear to react, right? Now, I noticed that, for example, in the culture, there are a lot of people that will observe, right? Like, in the middle of a conversation, they'll sit there like looking at you like, dumbfounded, and like thinking, right in front of you. And it's like, why are you observing this conversation? Why are you getting all meta? Why are you getting all out of body experience on me right now, right? Instead of just reacting. And this is because there's trust and distrust. I think that with people that you react to the interaction, you do this because there is trust. You're able to trust the other person, or you feel you can trust the other person, right? Like in your family or friends, and you're just reacting, right? You're not really thinking, you're not observing, you're just whatever talking. But when you're like in situations like formal settings or areas where you can't really react, you need to observe. You need to observe others, you need to observe yourself, you need to observe what everybody's doing, how you're using language, what words you're using, how you're handling yourself, right? So you're, and this cautiousness again breaks with the flow, and it makes you appear anxious, nervous, right? Like the hostile even. So yeah, it's that trust versus distrust idea. um, Excuse me. And then there's this third idea which I wanted to mention about finding like towards the future. I find this idea to be like stimulating, where you're basically trying to find alternative uses. That those are the two keywords: alternative uses to things, right? Think life hacks. I don't know if you've ever seen videos on life hacks where you take something that has a specific function or purpose and you use it for something else, right? Or you find other ways to use that. Excuse me. And I feel like that's very, it's not only creative, but that's actually what's going in a way to help us like develop society further. So I think that's the level of genius, right? A genius level is basically finding alternative uses for things that you use. So I thought I'd get these ideas out there. Let me know what you think of them. And I guess that's all I got for this video. So I'll see you in the next one. All right. Peace.